Hello, chess friends. Welcome back to my channel. Basically, we're gonna have a look at a beautiful chess game, one of the most beautiful chess games in the history of chess, and this one is called as the Evergreen chess game. So, what is the Evergreen game? Well, it was played by Adolf Anderssen against Jean, and basically, it has some sparkling, beautiful combinations that really, uh, they are really magical. And so, let's get going. Without any further ado, let's get started. It's white to play, and in this position, white played a combination. It's just not a move, but rather a series of moves, a series of brilliant moves that's gonna win the game for white. So go ahead and try to find the move that white should play. Also, just be careful. Look at the queen on f3, the rook on g8. Black is about to deliver as a checkmate on g2 square. So white has to do something immediately, otherwise he's gonna be mated on the next move. So put yourself in the shoes of Adolf Anderssen, the great Adolf Anderssen, and enjoy the evergreen game. Go ahead, pause the video, and try to find the move that white should play. So if you haven't looked at this sparkling game, this is gonna be your first and you're gonna love it. The first move is a decoy. The first move is rook takes on e7, sacrificing the exchange. Now, this is just the beginning of a beautiful combination. Now let's have a look at what happens. So in the game, knight takes e7 was played, and you might ask, what about other moves? Well, after the knight move, after knight takes d7, basically now it's a forced checkmate in 4. So I'm gonna ask you to find that, but before that, let's have a look at other options. What about king to f8? Now this is something a viable option, but the thing is, you will observe that the bishop on e3 is indirectly staring at the king on f8, and basically it's gonna be a simply winning discovered check wherever we can move our rook even to simple squares like rook to e3, and we don't even have to calculate much, and that's gonna be a win. So obviously the king can't step on the f8 square. You might ask, he might step on the d8 square. Now we have rook to d7, a brilliant sacrifice. Again, we offer him our rook. If he dares to capture it, then he's going to be in trouble, because if king takes, then the king will be exposed, and bishop to f5 double check is going to be threatened. In fact, that will be an instant checkmate. After he goes to d8, e8, then bishop to d7 followed by bishop e7 is a mate, as we're going to see that anyway. But let's have a look at what if he plays king to c8. Now we're going to sacrifice our rook d8 check. He has two options. He can also capture with the rook. But the problem is, the rook on g8 was doing an important job. It was pinning the pawn on g2, and now that it's not, we can simply take the queen, and that is going to be winning for us. So going back, obviously he doesn't have to take with the rook. In this position, he can also take with the king, but then that is exactly what we want. Because of bishop f5, we're going to win there. So he might try something like knight takes d8 in order to keep his king tucked inside, out of the danger. But we drag the rabbit out of the hole with the move queen to d7. Now this is simply spectacular. King takes is forced, bishop f5 double check, and you know what's gonna happen. If the king steps back to e8, then bishop to d7 is a checkmate, and if it goes to c6, then there's a very pretty checkmate with bishop d7. All the three pieces, the double bishop and the rook, are perfectly aligning and combining to give it to deliver a checkmate. So going back, after the move rook into e7, black's only logical option is to capture with the knight. And now it feels like this is really deadly, because the bishop has opened up, and now we can't even play g3 because there is a checkmate threat on g2. You can't take the queen, you can't push the pawn. It looks completely desperate for white until you find the brilliant move queen takes on d7. Now this is simply brilliant. Well, the king can't really dodge the bullet. If he goes to something over here, king f8, then we simply capture this, and that would be a mate. So can't escape, he has to capture our queen. That is basically attraction. You know, you sacrifice the queen and you attract the king out of his hold, and once he captures, you all know what's gonna happen. Bishop to f5 is a double check. He cannot capture a rook, he cannot capture a bishop, because it's a double check. And when the king is in a double check, he has to run. Basically, the king has two different squares, both of which are losing. Let's have a look at what happens if king to c6. Now, this did not happen in the game, but here we already know a very similar checkmate. Bishop to d7, that would be a pretty checkmate. So going back, in this position, he played king to e8. Now you already know the checkmate. It is bishop to d7 check. The king has two options. Going here is not an improvement. Pawn takes is simply a mate. as you all know, or even bishop takes. I would definitely prefer bishop takes. That looks more aesthetic. And if he goes over here, then you all know bishop takes knight is a wonderful checkmate. So black was just one move away from delivering us a checkmate on g2, but we never gave him the chance. In fact, white's attack was so beautiful, and the combination and the sacrifices that went, it started with this sacrifice, with the rook sacrifice, and then the queen sacrifice, and it was simply beautiful. We sacrificed two of our heavy pieces in two moves, and we ended the game on a high note with a beautiful and pretty checkmate. That is it. So this was the Evergreen game, and it's one of the most beautiful chess games in the history of chess. So hope you enjoyed this. This is really one of my favorite games, and it shows the power of the bishop pair, the power of the double bishops, and when they combine together, even the queen and the rook threatening mate on g2 in one can't really stop what's going to happen to your king. So hope you enjoyed this beautiful game by Adolf Anderssen. Thank you for watching, and do subscribe to my YouTube channel. More videos are on the way. Until next time, see you.